good to see you today. It is May 20th. We are going to look at a couple of passages today. The first one we're going to look at is Psalm 83. And anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Psalm 83, verse 1. Do not keep silent, O God. Do not hold your peace, and do not be still, O God. For behold, your enemies make a tumult. Those who hate you have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against your people and consulted together against your sheltered ones. They have taken crafty counsel. In the New King James, my Bible has a heading for this psalm, Prayer to Frustrate Conspiracy Against Israel. And conspiring, does sometimes happen. Sometimes people will say, you're just being paranoid. But it's sort of like the old saying, it's not paranoia if it's the truth. The truth is sometimes people are not what they need to be. And here, as the psalmist writes, he's talking about conspiracies, and there were frequent conspiracies in Israel. There were conspiracies inside Israel, there were conspiracies from those outside of Israel, and they had to be dealt with. So that's the situation here, that these conspiracies were happening. Look at verse 4. They have said, Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be remembered no more. For they have consulted together with one consent. They form a confederacy against you. Unity is not always a good thing. You know, sometimes people will appeal to popularity, and they'll say, we all agree, we are all of one mind, and we are united in this. Well, unity is good if you're united in a good thing. But this passage talks about how they were all consenting together, and it's a bad thing. So we should probably be careful about appealing to the popular vote, because the popular vote is usually wrong, frankly. It's usually the remnant. It's usually the minority who's actually, to look all through Scripture, it's usually just the few who are actually doing what's right. But here, as this conspiracy is being spoken about, this craftiness, they were united, but it wasn't a good thing. Back in the passage now, you have those who are in view being spoken about, the tents of Edom and the Ishmaelites, Moab and Hagrites, all these others. But then you have verse 9, deal with them as with Midian, as with Sisera. If you don't remember who Sisera was, well, he's the guy who ended up with a hole in his head. Make their nobles like Oreb and like Zeb, yes, all the princes like Zeb and Zalmunna, who said, let us take for ourselves the pastures of God for a possession. Right? He's saying, deal with them, Lord. Deal with them, because they are wanting what is not theirs. Oh my God, verse 13, make them like the whirling dust, like the chaff before the wind, as the fire burns the woods, and as the flame sets the mountains on fire, so pursue them with your tempest, and frighten them with your storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek your name, O Lord. Let them be confounded and dismayed forever. Yes, let them be put to shame and perish, that they may know that you, whose name alone is the Lord, are the Most High over all the earth. The psalmist is saying, please take care of this. His plea is with God, God who is the defender. He's saying, please let them reap as they have sown, because they are not doing what is right. They are conspiring against us. They are conspiring against us as a united front, and please defend us. And do this so that perhaps they may turn from the direction they're headed, that they may seek your name, O Lord. But if they're not going to turn from their evil ways, then let them be put to shame and perish. But the reason that we're going to read a couple of passages is because as we think about this idea of craftiness, and that sometimes people are sometimes people are just devious and they're deceitful and they're hypocritical and they put on a good front. I'm thinking of like with Nehemiah, and when the enemies, when the enemies come and they try to make this covenant with them, but it was just all a show, and it wasn't good. Well, the question is, what do you need in those situations? When you're going to be dealing with people who are being, you're going to have to deal with these situations. What is it going to take? What do you need to have? And that's why I wanted to read from a couple of passages today. Because another passage in our reading is 1 Kings chapter 2. In 1 Kings chapter 2, to get over there, you have David's closing instructions to Solomon. And in those instructions to Solomon, you have him saying, frankly, take care of Shimei. And you also have him speaking about taking care of Adonijah. And he also says take care of Joab. And hopefully you know what I mean when I say take care of them. But you have all these things happening. And then and Solomon follows his father's advice. But then you have Solomon's prayer for wisdom. And as Solomon says in verse 6, you have shown great mercy to your servant David, my father. Verse 7, now, O Lord, you have made your servant king instead of my father David, but I am a little child. I do not know how to go out or to come in. And your servant is in the midst of your people whom you have chosen, a great people too numerous to be numbered or counted. Therefore give to your servant an understanding heart, to judge your people, that I may discern between good and evil. For who is able to judge this great people of yours? The speech pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this thing. Solomon knew full well that in the position that he was in as king, he's going to be dealing with some hard things to deal with. And he says, I don't need riches. I don't need long life. What I need is wisdom to discern between good and evil, between right and wrong. And whenever we're dealing, frankly, in life, you have to develop that discernment, because sometimes people are crafty and sometimes people are deceitful and sometimes people do say one thing, but their heart is not with you. And so you need wisdom. You need wisdom. And that wisdom is only from above. It's only from above. And so Solomon asks for wisdom. And God grants it. So, hope this brief look into God's Word has been helpful for you. Appreciate you. Hope you're having a good day. Thank you for following along with us. We hope you join us for our next brief study.